Alright, here's my brand new used Ford F250. It is already been worked on by a mechanic. They pulled the head off because it had low compression. After I got this engine out and tore it all apart, which I don't have video of, I found that the rings were, the top rings were basically shot out and completely gone. So it shot them out through the turbo, and the reason I say that is because I could see little chipping on the fan, and that happened, I'm guessing, from pieces of metal, and so it is a guess, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Now yeah, I'm gonna just document this whole thing. I don't work on vehicles, but I'm mechanically inclined, and hopefully we'll get it done, do a real good job, and get it all back together. Shouldn't be too hard. So I'm going to speed everything up here, and I'm just taking the bumper off. There's a total of 4 bolts in the front that hold that bumper on, and 2 on the back side, 1 on either side under the wheel wells. I didn't have to do the ones on mine because they were completely rusted. I didn't need to deal with those. So there, pulled it off. It's pretty easy. These little plastic tabs I'm trying to show, those plastic tabs basically cut them off with a pair of wire cutters, because you know the ones in the metal will come off just like you see there, but then when you get to the plastic, and even some in the metal, were just like kind of ripping through. So after this I just grabbed a pair of cutters and started cutting them all off. Just gonna replace them. They're not really expensive. So here, obviously taking off that front grille. Now a lot of guys pull the whole body off of the truck, off the chassis, and then remove the engine that way. When you have a shop or equipment that you could do it with, it's great, but when you're doing it in your garage, like me, you gotta pull that whole front end off and make way for the engine to come out. It's really not that hard. There we go. That came off nice. Alright, this is how you're going to take the lights off. There's 2 screws. Well, there should be. There's only 1 on this one. Take that off basically, and then this just pulls out. So I'm going to do that. That's out. And then this just pulls out, pops out. Careful not to pull too much, because there are some wires here that are still going to be attached. So you have to twist this one out right here. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. I'm going to have to set this camera down here. Let's see. There we go. And this unplugs. These are really deteriorated, so I don't know if I'm going to get it to survive the little tabs. Oh man. Pull this off. It will probably break off. I'll do my best. There we go. Nice. Just gotta be really careful with those. They'll break right off. Hopefully the camera picks all that up. So, and then there's your light. Okay, I just wanted to show real quick, on that light, you don't actually have to take the wire off of the plug. You can actually just rotate this whole assembly off of the light fixture, and then it just comes right out. but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want the bulb hanging there, so yeah, I just took mine off. So on removal of the light, you're gonna come back here. There's a little tab here, right here. You're gonna want to remove that tab and that tab right there, and then your light will come off. You also want to rotate and take off that plug. You can also let it just pull through too if you want. So that tab comes out as well as that one. So taking off this composite frame that the headlights are kind of they're in front of, there's some bolts here that I'm going to point out that are holding it on. Not very many, but I'm just showing here that the headlight was kind of blocking them. Those two right there, and then I believe there's a couple more that are exposed. And then once those lights are off, the headlights are completely removed, and then you can get to those pretty easily and pull that whole piece off. I took the whole piece off, but it was the next day when I got it off because I gave up on the light. Those little tabs were taking forever. I didn't have the right awl, because you want to use an awl and some needle nose to get those off. Alright, so now that the plastic shrouding is gone, I'm going to be removing all the radiators. There's a transmission radiator, a condenser or heat dissipator, I'm not exactly sure what it is, for the AC unit, as well as the engine radiator, and there's a radiator in there for our cooling system for the turbo, and so all those gotta go. Pretty easy to remove, and you'll see here. The only one I didn't film was removing the turbo radiator or cooler or whatever that is. Anyways, disconnected those. Not exactly sure if that was the best idea, but I did it, and yeah, all came off no problem. Just loosen these nuts here. And those kind of stay in there. These studs. And then there you go. Put those nuts back on there. Just take these little plastic tabs and cut them off, as I've been trying to pull them out and they do not come out very nicely. Just remember how you put all this stuff. I don't know if you can see this. Let me move the camera here. Get this out of the way. it's removing the radiator, so. Alright, now you're going to take these two bolts off to get your reservoir off. I've already taken the top one off. You also take the hoses off. I've already drained my coolant, so make sure you drain your coolant. Then you got a bottom hose right here. I'll do that right now. Alright, now that you've got all the hoses taken off and all the bolts taken off and everything, I took off the shroud. It's just two upper bolts on the F250 09. This is a stock radiator, I believe. You just lift it out. Pretty easy. Boy, it sure is light. Just an attachment point, basically. Holds all this super thin metal together. Lightweight. Alright. That battery's definitely done. Charge on it too. Ooh. Ooh, man. Alright, I'm going to remove this little radiator. It's this radiator's for the power steering pump and all that fluid just to kind of cool it. This one's gonna come out without a fight. Back part that this screws into was it just completely broke off, so I had to jam a screwdriver in there to hold it from spinning. So here's the whole thing. We're gonna pull the engine out through here to the front. This is without having to take the cab off, because it's kind of hard to do that when you're in the garage and don't have all the equipment to do that. So seems a lot easier to me. And this is the first time I've ever done this, so definitely not an expert.
Now, although I won't be reusing this water pump, I do want to keep all the bolts in the places that they went, so I make it a little bit easier on myself here. You can see they're a little bit different. They're not consistent, so you can pretty much see it there.
Alright, well, finally got to the part where I get to pull the engine out, and I was really excited about this. We didn't have to pull the turbo off, and because there's a part on there that kind of gets in the way. It runs up against the firewall, but we didn't have to do that. We didn't pull the transmission either. My father-in-law came from California, and he was helping remove the engine, which he was a huge help, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Bruce. And got it out, no problem. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed, please give a thumbs up. Remember, please subscribe and check out my channel. And I have all sorts of weird and interesting videos all the time. I'm going to put more videos of the assembly and install this new engine. So thank you very much again. See you next time.